Yo, what's going on, Hoops Tribe? We are in for episode nine of Let's Talk Hoops. All my spiritual people, y'all got to let me know what the number nine means in the comments because I know it's a divine number, but off the top of my head, I just don't know what it is right now. But since we're here, it has to be good because I'm feeling good. It's Sunday. It's been a busy week in hoops, a successful week in hoops for a lot of teams. My name is Cassie Chantel. Some of y'all call me Coach C. I'm here with Deidria one on one. Deidria, how are you feeling on this beautiful Sunday?
I'm feeling great. This has been a wonderful week of hoops. Some of these games have felt like a playoff game.
Like the Mercury taking down the Liberty. It was not on my bingo card, although we know now that the Liberty can be taken down. They've already lost once, but they've gone down twice this season, and it just speaks to how good the Mercury are. Like, this is a team. I'm so impressed with their ability to relocate and find each other in open spots. You can tell that they are in sync. They're really gelling. They have Cobb back in the lineup. And honestly, they look great without Ka. So it sounds like she's also embracing her position. I listened to a warm up interview that she had with WNBA Countdown, and she just talked about how much she appreciates Nate Tippett's spacing in his offense and how it's allowing her freedom to be creative. I think that Satu is also enjoying some of those same things. How are you feeling about the Mercury?
The Mercury look like a playoff team. I mean, they have been playing so well lately. It's unbelievable. And to think like this is a team that only two players are returning from last season and everyone else is new. And I have to credit two people from just interviews and things that I've seen. One is Alyssa Thomas, and two is Nate Tibbett. So it seems like with bringing AT in, Kaz said in a preseason interview that AT kind of set the tone for everybody and set the tone for how the team would be, how they would be performing. And what you're seeing in Phoenix, I would say, is very similar to what you saw in Connecticut when she was over there. Like, it just shows her presence within that locker room and how important it is and how, like, everyone is getting together. And even the presence of Ka, the presence of Satu, too. So, and Nate's been doing a good job keeping everybody together. They really seem like they're buying into his system. So,
You
full
bring up
credit
a
to all of
great
them.
point. Yeah, with AT, you bring up a great point because she was also a leader with Team USA. And she's just continuing to show how much she's an all-star. And speaking to Nate Tibbetts' system, the system that he has that allows that freedom and spacing, it can go one way or another because I think I see some similar things in Vegas as far as players getting freedom to, do whatever it is they want to do. Sometimes that can go in a situation where you see players be a little too selfish when they need to pass. I'm seeing
Yeah.
the opposite with the Mercury. Satu, she can get downhill. She's the unicorn. She can really do whatever it is that she wants to do at any point in time in the game. I've seen her make passes out to the perimeter to Sammy Whitcomb, who's having an amazing start to her season. I think we talk about Erica Wheeler and we talk about Natasha Cloud as being some strong offseason moves. I think that we're overlooking Sammy Whitcomb, and I think that she just went to work against Chicago. Granted, Chicago doesn't have the best defense in the league, but still, this is a pro team with pro players, and she turned it into shooting practice. She took all threes for her field goals and went 50%. So I think that is great work that they're doing overall in Phoenix, and also give a shout out to Kalani Brown and Monique McConney. And going
Yeah.
into other news, Angel Reese drops Me Bounds merch. How are you feeling about that merch?
I love it. Come on now. What's one of the most famous phrases that Angel says? Hating
Hating
pays
pays
too.
too.
So I mean, come on, like it's just so funny because I saw a post the other day where someone said, "This is so stupid that she dropped the Me Bounds merch, that she trademarked Me Bounds because her haters aren't gonna buy it. So why is she doing it? She's not gonna make money." And the thing is, like, She's not doing this for the haters.
It's
She's
not for
doing this for
you.
us, y'all. It's for the ones that support her. It ain't for y'all that have been hating on her. Because we're going to go out and buy the merch. We're going to go out and support her because guess what? Merch from Angel's website 100% goes into her pocket, except for this. 50% of the proceeds is actually going towards her foundation to help fight cyberbullying. Come on. Like, she's literally turning everything that you guys are doing into an opportunity that's putting more money in her pocket, and y'all are still feeding into it. Y'all are still doing this. Like, come on.
They can't help themselves. And one of the many things I love about Angel Reese is her ability to repurpose hate. Me Bounds was intended to troll, break her spirit, break the spirits of her fans because they go to war in the comment sections. But now it's become a stream of revenue and a new basketball term. Honestly, I've seen a lot of coaches, like I'm in the coaching community. I've seen coaches talk about how we're going to start using that with our athletes because up until Angel Reese, no one was criticizing someone getting their own rebounds. In fact, she doesn't even lead the league in this. Chiney Ogwumike did a whole breakdown on me bounds, and that's the impact. It's become a cultural thing within the basketball community. But when Chiney broke it down, she said Asia Wilson is actually leading the lead in her own rebounds. And
Yeah.
even if they were to take away Angel Reese's rebounds from her own misses, she would still be averaging a double double. So it really just goes to show, people just find things to attach to and to criticize when they really can't say anything else. They have to find something negative to talk about. And just like Angel, we appreciate that here at Let's Talk Hoops because Hayden pays too. That's like one of my favorite phrases that she's created because as much as y'all hate in these comments, you talk about me, you talk about Deidria, we're still going. It still boosts our algorithm. It still boosts our engagement. And we're here for it. We're here to talk hoops with the ones that want to talk hoops, but we're also here for the people that, are going to have those derogatory comments towards us because we can't please everybody and we're not trying to. And with that
Nope.
said, after this episode, I'm no longer taking questions. If you follow me on social media, you know that I ask before the episodes and I'm saying, hey, Hoops Tribe, who has questions for this episode? No longer doing that to the general public. Those questions are going to be reserved to subscribers. So my subscribers on Facebook, you can go ahead and drop your questions in the group if you have a question for the next episode. You can also now subscribe to the YouTube channel. So if you have questions, subscribe and I'll answer the questions in that case. But otherwise, no. Moving on into other news. WNBA drops a new commercial for Nafisa Collier. They've already had the commercial for Asia Wilson. And I think that this is just increasing the rivalry between those two players. And I love it because I think it's a rivalry that we don't talk about enough. And they have so
Yep.
much in common and so much to be rivals for. They went to opposing schools. UConn versus South Carolina is one of the biggest rivalries now in NCAA women's basketball. And then now, I think the gap between Nafisa Collier and Asia Wilson skill wise has closed a lot. I think that Nafisa now just has to get some championships under her belt, but I think that she's arguably the best player in the league. And I know people are going to hate me for that, but I don't think that we can deny how much better she's gotten from her rookie season to now, how much she's competing on a night in and night out basis, and how she has so much versatility to her game. Some of that versatility is what Asia Wilson is trying to add to her game. And I'm speaking to being like a three-level scorer. Asia Wilson has just started to shoot threes over the last couple of seasons, and I think more so now. But that's something that Nafisa has in her game, and she's just really efficient. So I'm really here for these commercials. What do you think of them?
Yeah, I love it. And this is a good rivalry to have, right? This is something that would boost more engagement for the WNBA because these two are arguably the best players in the league right now. And yeah, I agree with you. Everyone knows I love Asia, but y'all, what Fee was doing in last season, what Fee did through playoffs, what Fee did through Unrivaled, what Fee did through the one-on-one in Unrivaled, and what Fee has done throughout this season, you can see her growth. you can see how well she's been playing and how much better she's been doing compared to before. And Asia's had a interesting start to the season as well with playing through sickness, right? And then obviously being out with the concussion. And she's getting back to herself, but adding their three ball is something that she has been missing from her game. And Asia's great. They are this is every time that they square off against each other, this is one of my most exciting matchups to see. I get just as excited about this as I get excited about Angel versus Stewie, right? Or even Angel versus Kiki that just happened. These are the battles of good players.
Angel versus Kiki. Okay, first of all, I was a little shocked because I thought that Kiki was going to do a little bit better offensively than what she did. But that just goes to show that Angel Reese's defense cannot be denied.
Exactly. And Angel's defense has always been there. She does a lot of things. So I love Kiki, and I know she got a couple of shots off, but I expected her to struggle that game. I fully expected it because Angel's defense is good. Fee shoots her lowest against Angel. Like Asia typically shoots her lowest against Angel. All of the good fours within this league shoot their lowest against Angel. Unrivaled, BG shot her lowest against Angel. Satu, Aaliyah Boston. It's always been there.
And that's arguably the hardest position to play in the W. So that speaks volumes. In other news, the Lakers announced new majority ownership deal, and they will now be owned by the CEO of the Sparks. So this brings the Lakers and the Sparks together after since they've been separate since 2014. So I think that that's a big deal that really isn't getting a lot of the publicity that I would think it would get. And,
Yeah.
I think that we should be more excited about it. Hopefully, this means better jerseys for the Sparks because I really wasn't aware that they weren't functioning together. But it makes sense because they're not even using the same font on their jersey. So now it shouldn't be the deal of like copyrights. I don't know how all of that is going to work, but honestly, I'm excited to see how that all works out.
I'm also hoping that this is going to help with them getting that new facility that they teased last season.
Hmm.
I'm hoping that this will bring more revenue to that so that they can actually not practice at a college anymore.
That gym is cute though. Wherever it is
It
that
is.
their practice is cute. I like the murals
Yeah.
on the wall. And then speaking of the Sparks, Kelsey Plum says that Rakia Jackson is one of the most talented players she's ever played with. I thought that that was a really big statement. First of all, because I feel that Rakia Jackson is going to be one of the best players in the WNBA in her long career that I hope that she has. I think that she has the ability offensively to get a bucket on anyone. And I think that she's learning and adjusting really well. So I thought that that was really big for Kelsey Plum to verbally, put out there.
Yeah, and she's also improved on her defense a lot too, which was one of the things that she struggled a little bit with last season. And I think Ricky has shown a major growth already just within the first couple of games that she came back post concussion. And she even teased a little bit before the concussion. So I agree with her. And I think also that just shows your vet showing up for you, because Kelsey is one of Rikia's vets now.
Hmm.
That's going to be pouring into her.
Hmm. That's a big affirmation to hear that from a player like Kelsey Plum. And speaking of Kelsey Plum, I think we're all aware that she gave some shoes to Sarah Ashley Barker. She hit up Sabrina and she let us know in the video that she would have given Sarah Ashley Barker some Under Armour if it weren't for the stupid WNBA rule. And I didn't know what she was referring to, but if you didn't
Wait, you
know,
didn't?
no, I didn't know what she was referring to, but it means that the WNBA players have to wear Nike because WNBA is sponsored by Nike unless they have a shoe deal. So just putting that out there for those who may have not known, because I was one of those people that did not know.
Yeah, so it's unless they have a shoe deal prior to coming into the season. So if you've noticed, Anissa Morrow has been wearing Reeboks a lot. And correct me if I'm wrong, but LSU was not a Reebok school. So Yeah, it's interesting when you think about that and her coming in. So they haven't announced anything, but I'm hoping that means she's signed to Reebok as well.
All the Angel Reese girlies, you got Dejanay wearing Reebok, Anissa Morrow and Angel like are really close. She's wearing Reebok. So I definitely think the relationship may have influenced that deal that hasn't been announced yet. Who knows? We might get some PE colorways from Anissa Morrow. But moving on, Williams make a statement about officiating, and she says, "I just hope that the safety of players start to become a priority versus the ego of refs." And she was referring to refs making more calls regarding her landing space. She said that she's twisted her ankle a few times, and when she brought it to the attention of the refs, she was met with laughter. And I'm interpreting her, and if I'm interpreting her correctly, I think that that's what she meant by ego. Like when I point out something, don't get into your ego about it. Like you made a mistake, do better. We all make mistakes. So when she calls something out, like take those things seriously. And I think that officiating has been a topic of conversation for so many players and for coaches. Stephanie White also made comments after the malice in in Cambridge.
Uh,
She
yeah.
says, everyone has gotten better, but the refs. And the Fever had some impactful statements regarding that. I was actually at Gateway Center to see Alicia Gray get a tech, which is surprising if you know the temperament of Alicia Gray. She can get frustrated, but it isn't ever really like towards anybody in general. Like, but at this point, she did speak out to the refs and she got a tech. And I thought, in my opinion, that same referee made some questionable calls on Alicia Gray down the stretch. And I think that's another example of getting into your ego. And the referees have to stop making this about them. Like, I know that you're human, but you have to try as hard as possible to just make the right call, man. Like, these are players and nothing that they're doing is really a personal attack. They're just being emotional. They're in the emotions of the game. Just make the right call, man. I'm tired of it. I know that they're tired of it. And I'm the last person to want to blame things on the refs because I think that there are a lot of factors that go into winning and losing games. And the referees are kind of like icing on the cake most of the time. But in a lot of these situations, in the situation of the WNBA, they have to be better. And it's hard to be consistent when you don't have, it's impossible for the same group of referees to do all the games because there's some games I think that they are officiated really well. And then there's other games it's like, what the hell is happening here? And then there's no consistency in the calls. So I don't know what the WNBA needs to do to get that figured out. I'm sure that they're all going through the same trainings, but yeah, I don't know the answer to that. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so I actually follow, I think it's the account's called NBA Refs on Threads. And they kind of go through a little bit of like the pregame thing of what they look for, who's assigned to certain games and such. And I do agree with you. I think that they have to take their ego out of it because it's not so much about them, right? It's emotions of the game. It's going to happen. And a lot of these refs have played basketball before, so they do understand. But the reason I bring that up is because there is a certain group that rotates between NCAA, NBA, and the WNBA. So it is the same kind of, I believe, 12 or like 13 refs that rotate through, which they're training new refs all the time. But it kind of brings me back to earlier in the season when the Mystics played the Valkyries and Sonia Citron got a tech. And she made a comment, don't know what the comment was, as like she was walking away and the ref gave her a tech. And a lot of people can agree that like from watching her throughout her career, Sonia's very like straight faced. You get nothing out of her, no emotion whatsoever. So that surprised me. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if they just think that the players are doing this on purpose or what, but it does need to stop. It's taking everyone out of the game. But in addition to that, like they gotta start calling other things so that we're not having as many injuries as we have been having coming up.
I think calling a technical on a player who's saying something as they're walking away is BS.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you feel like no one can say anything to you or about you, or no one can question your call. Like it feels like they're playing God into an exaggerated extreme. It just, that's just crazy. Like so, and
Yeah.
I also think the technical fouls, like they called some technicals on Caitlyn last season where she hits the Peloton, and I think that that's dumb. I think they also called that tech on Erica Wheeler, I think earlier in the season.
And
It's
Monique McConney.
yeah, it's just that tech is dumb. Like really, like hitting the Peloton. Okay, like,
Yeah, yeah. It's just
it's
it's in the rule book for whatever reason. I have no clue why. And then wait. Anissa Morrow got a check for bounce throwing the ball down in the game against Phoenix when Connecticut
well, that's
played.
always been a tech. I
Yeah.
get that. That's a tech at every level. But like hitting the Peloton, that could be for any reason. Like I mean, the ball bouncing, it's it's in the same realm, but I
Hmm.
at least know that that's a universal rule, like through all levels, which that is consistent. But I don't know, the Peloton thing, I've seen players hit the wall at gyms and not get called for text. So I don't know. It's just dumb. Moving on into Bria Hartley's social media comments when she spoke on she got a foul. It was ruled a common foul, which it should have been moved up to a flagrant if they're gonna, keep it consistent because they called this a flagrant on Dejanay, I believe, in a previous week. But her
Yeah.
comments on social media really took things up a notch because honestly, okay, you wrapped your hands into Angel's hair. Angel's hair was long, and we saw in one play where Angel wrapped her own hand in her hair. So
Hmm.
that could have genuinely been a mistake. But going on social media and saying my son said it's not your fault, you grabbed her hair, it was too long, it was really an accident, and the refs got it right. It's just unnecessary. Like, girl, you already apologized in person. You could have kept this in your group chat. We did not need to know this. I don't know. How do you feel about her speaking out on social media? And also, I just want to bring it. We talked about last episode about players using their social media. This is an example of when I feel like they should not be on social media, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, why apologize during the game and then bring it up 3 days later? Like it's not funny, it's not cute. Um and quite frankly, yeah, that should have been a flagrant one on her. It absolutely should have been. Because when you think about it, and credit to the photographers at these games. Y'all
Right.
y'all are doing the Lord's work out here, okay? They had a zoom in of her hair wrapped around Bria's fist. So, yes, you pulled her down. I get it. Whatever, you made a play. But then when you have Dejanay, who literally went to brace her fall and act like she clearly was going for Sarah's shoulder or something to like brace her fall and accidentally grabbed her hair and you get that upgrade to a flagrant one. Like, come on now. Come on. I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's good. And I agree with you. I think something like this, don't bring it to social media. Don't bring your kid into it, man. Like, come on. We talk all the time about how players' family members and players' kids, especially, are off limits when you're talking about any player criticizing any player. It's off limits, is what we say. Don't use pictures of their kids, don't use their kids' names or any references in their kids when that's happening. But here you have a player bringing her own kid into it. Like, come on. Come on now. Please leave your kid out of it. Don't do that.
Don't do it. And speaking of flagrants, there was talk about the Marina Mabberry bumping into Clark, and should that have resulted in a flagrant one or two? By the rules, it should have been at least a flagrant one. It could be
Yeah.
argued that it's a flagrant two. I think they eventually upgraded Kennedy Carter's bump to a flagrant one after the game when she did it. I believe that it was upgraded to a flagrant one. Do you know if it was a flagrant one or a two? Do you remember?
It was a one that was upgraded to
Yeah, and
after the
it's
game.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's absolutely the same type of bump. I think that Marina Mabry is pretty important to the game, and we can't lie about officiating and being a little biased in some cases to
Yep.
players. So I think it could have at least been a flagrant one to kind of
Well,
quiet
yep.
down all of the noise, so to say. I don't think that them giving Marina a flagrant would have changed the trajectory of the rest of the game, though. I seen that being posed as a question. They're like, well, if the referees had made this call, then it wouldn't have resulted in JC Sheldon being slammed
Nah,
by Sophie.
nah,
I think that
nah.
Sophie Cunningham would have did that regardless. That's what she does. That's who she is. I don't think it would have changed anything.
Yeah, I mean, also, I believe they upgraded it later on, correct? Yeah, they upgraded it after the game. And Marina was fined too after they upgraded it after the game. But yeah, it should have been upgraded during the game. Would it have stopped Sophie? No, it would not have stopped Sophie. And the reason why it would not have stopped Sophie is because Sophie went for a JC in an open court. Sophie did not go after Marina. So no, it would not have stopped Sophie. And also, speaking of Sophie, because she actually made a comment about this because she was interviewed. And we'll read directly what she said. She made a comment about the officials where she echoes Steph White's words of like the officials need to stop these things from happening. And she goes, I'm not focused on any extracurricular activities. And you know what? During that, it was just a part of the game. I think the refs had a lot to do with it. It was a buildup of a couple years now of them just not protecting the star player of the WNBA. At the end of the day, I'm gonna protect my teammates. That's what I do. Here is what I have about the statement that she made. Number one, Sophie has always been about the extracurriculars. Sophie has been about the
Right.
extracurriculars since college. Ma'am, why? You have been about the extracurriculars since
Why
college.
you
Like we've
always lying?
like we've seen this, right. But when and my second part of it, during that, it was just a part of the game. It's not just a part of the game to grab somebody by the neck when they're going for a layup in an open court with no defenders around them. Are you kidding? And then the slap, I think the refs had a lot to do with it. Yep, not calling stuff, I understand. But it was a buildup of a couple of years from now, like a couple of years now of them just not protecting the star player of the WNBA. And this is why I have a problem with the Indiana Fever front office, Sophie Cunningham, and the entire Stephanie White and the entire Indiana Fever team, because now you are feeding into this narrative that the media has been pushing and building for the last year. You're actively feeding into this. You're actively feeding into the narrative that is contributing directly to the hate that several players have been getting throughout last season and this season continued. I'm tired. I'm tired of the shenanigans. I'm tired of them feeding into this and then trying to say that people are purposely attacking, etc., etc. When you go back and watch that game, there was a lot of pushing, there was a lot of shoving that Caitlin was doing to JC, and JC got irritated. JC got annoyed. When she went to make a play on the ball, she accidentally hit Caitlin in the face. Then you got Caitlin literally on camera saying to JC, I can do whatever the F I want. And then she pushed her, and she did not get attacked for that. So if we're gonna talk about Marina, we gotta talk about the other stuff that led up to that that had been continually happening. And this has been happening over and over again. People are tired of the push-offs, they're tired of the shoves, they're tired of her pushing them in the back when she's defending them. They're sick and tired of all of this. So if we're gonna talk about one side of it, we gotta talk about what she's doing to instigate a lot of this stuff too.
Right.
And I don't care if you guys want to say I hate her. I don't. And I don't care if you guys want to say that I hate the Indiana Fever. Yeah, absolutely. Right now, I actually do hate the team. I do hate the team right now. So I will admit that. But I don't hate Caitlin. I hate the shenanigans. I hate building into the narrative. I hate all the stuff that is happening after you sat there in your Times Magazine article and said, I am going to use my platform and everything that I have to uplift the women of this league, to bring the voices of the black women to this league to the forefront. Yeah, this isn't bringing their voices to the forefront when you're actively leaving into this damn narrative.
Well, I just want to say, well, I just have to ask, are you happy that you got that out?
I am.
I feel like that felt like a good release.
I am. I am very happy that I got that out. I
There's
I
no
I am
confusion.
happy.
So there's no confusion. I don't think there's ever been any like no one's ever pretended here. I don't like them either.
Right. Right.
I don't know what the confusion has ever been. I have been very vocal throughout my career as a basketball influencer that I don't like the Indiana Fever. And that does not take away my ability to critique them. I love Angel Reese. That does not take away my ability to critique her.
Absolutely.
So I just want to make that clear for those, I'm going to hold your hand with a napkin in between when I say this. I don't like the Indiana Fever. So just so we're clear, moving on to the Commissioner's Cup, since we're talking about this, the Indiana Fever will make it to the Commissioner's Cup to face the Minnesota Lynx, and it is still questionable if Nafisa Collier will be available during this time. And is what's also interesting is that the cup has been around since 2021, so it isn't a large sample to pull from, but history has shown us the last three cups, one or both of the teams who make it to the cup will make it to the championship. So there is some hopes because I've been very vocal about I don't think that the Fever are a championship team and they don't, that's not what they look like right now. So with those odds, I don't know, there's some hope for the fan base there that they could make the championship.
Can we
Now,
talk about the Kathy curse?
oh, what's the curse?
The Kathy curse for the Commissioner's Cup is whoever wins the cup has gone on to lose the championship.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't know that was called the Kathy curse. Okay.
Hmm. Because it's her cup. So
That makes sense. I'm going to move on to Hoops Tribe questions, and I'm just going to do one of these, and so we can go ahead and move into the injury report and go on to the because we actually haven't even gotten into the show. But someone asked, "What grades do you give the first year head coaches through their first quarter of the season?" I have my grades ready, so I'm going to say, Coach Nakase, I give that woman an A. Coach Sidney Johnson, I give that man a B. Coach Tyler Marsh, I give him a generous C. Coach Roberts for the Sparks, I give her a C as well. Coach Conclanis, I give him a D. And Coach Mezion, he has a C minus. I'm giving him a C minus. Do you have your grades?
wait, you forgot Coach Smesko.
Oh, Smesko. How could I forget Smesko? Obviously, A, duh. He's doing great work. I love Atlanta. I love what he's doing for Atlanta. I think that he's been great with his locker room. I think everyone's gelling. I give him an A plus, actually. I'm giving him an A plus. Natalie Akase, I'm giving her an A plus too as well. Let's spice things up a little bit.
Okay. So Coach Smesko, I would say he's got an A plus for me. Natalie, I'll give her A minus. Sydney, I'm gonna give him a solid B right now for what he's doing. Coach Mezion, I'm gonna have to give him a C plus. And we have Coach Roberts, Coach Clennis, and Coach Marsh. These three are kind of hard for me. I'm gonna give Roberts and Marsh a generous C minus. And Clennis, I'm sorry, dude. You're gonna get a D minus from me. You're gonna get a D minus from me. I the togetherness isn't togethering, so you're gonna get a D minus from me.
It's interesting that okay, I personally have been calling for Isaiah James to start over Dejanay Carrington for the entirety of the season. But he has made that adjustment, and they've won two
Yeah,
games in a row where
that's why
Dejanay
he
is
got
coming off of the bench.
that's why he got the D minus. That's what saved them from the F.
He's just slow at making adjustments. I also think that
Yeah,
Tyler is slow at making adjustments. The only reason I give Tyler a C because I'm a little empathetic to his situation because his GM is kind of trash.
hmm,
So he didn't really have the best odds coming into this season. They just didn't give him the team to do what he really wants to do. I
Yep.
see the vision, just like I see the vision with Coach Roberts. I see where she's going, but it's just something that's keeping it from being a B right now. But
Yeah.
yeah, I have hope in them.
Yeah. And I mean, even I can give Marsh some credit in the sense of I know a lot of people were complaining yesterday that he rested the starters in the third quarter, but realizing that they play Atlanta today and that they have another game on Tuesday, that was actually really smart of him to do. And they weren't going to win that game. They weren't
Right,
coming back. They had no chance at that point.
right.
So I think that was very smart of him to do. I've also noticed that Ariel, Camilla, and Angel are playing more aggressive and they're playing a little bit more free. And I'm going to credit his development to that. There are other players that need a little bit more developing, but hey, that's going to come. But I've seen the changes in those three players and how they've been able to affect the offense. And even on their bad days, they're still doing other things that are helpful for the team.
All right, let's skate through this injury report.
Okay, so we're gonna start off with the ones that we know are all season. Courtney Vandersloot, ACL, Mariah Jefferson with the mystery leg injury, Cameron Brink, who is still recovering from her ACL last season, Cheyenne Parker-Katias, who's still out with her pregnancy, Katie Lou Samuelson's ACL, Georgia Amor's ACL. Now, the more recent ones that we have are um, Tara McCowan for Eurobasket, Jessica Shepard, Leonie Fibich, all doing Eurobasket, Julia Altman Eurobasket. Meg Gustafson still out with her lower leg. Jonquel re-injured her ankle. This is now her second time injuring her ankle. She's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. Collier with her back. She's got bulging disc issues. So that's what's keeping her out at the moment. Lexi Held is out with a chest injury that she sustained in the game against New York. We're not quite sure how long she's going to be out. Megan McConnell's out with her knee still for the 3 to 4 weeks, and Ray Burrell is still out with her knee. Both Odyssey Sims and Dewana Bonner have been out for personal reasons, and they don't have a set time to return quite yet.
But Asia Wilson is back 20 and 14 in the loss to Seattle. So I just
Yes.
big ups to Asia Wilson bouncing back in a strong way. You know, unfortunately the team lost, but there is hope. I thought that they played pretty well against Seattle, but Seattle's just a great team.
Yeah, I mean, defense is still an issue that plagues the Aces. Lack of rebounding without Asia when she's not on the floor is something that still plagues them. And I think it's in perimeter defense, right? Gabby Williams, her first career double-double in that game. I mean, to think that that was her first career double-double is insane, considering the fact that she was flirting with a triple-double against the game in the game against LA, where she had her career high of 8 steals. Like, it's just super impressive what Seattle's been able to do and how fast they as well have been able to gel because Seattle's another team that only returned three active players. NECA, no, I'm sorry, four. NECA, Ezzy, Gabby, Skylar.
Yeah, honestly, their core
And yeah,
stayed intact. So they were pretty,
yeah,
that's why I had them pretty high in my rankings because they didn't make many adjustments to their core. And I think that's, I mean, of course, coming off of the bench is also really important. But if you have a core four coming back and those were the strongest players of the previous season, I think that you're in pretty good shape. I think the Aces still have to figure out consistency because they have surges that they're really well on defense. That's why they were able to make that fight in the second quarter against Seattle. But it's just with them, they just have to learn to be consistent. Becky's still working on the rotations. I just
yeah.
hope they figure it out so they can finish this season above 500 because right now it's looking a little scary. Now moving into Atlanta versus the Mystics, that was actually a game that I got to cover. I was on the ground. I got to be in the pre and post game press conferences. It was my first time officially covering a WNBA game, and man, what an experience. I'm so nerdy about, just talking to coaches and seeing how they think and why they make the decisions that they make. So I really enjoyed talking to Coach Smesco. And I thought that he had a really interesting answer because we've been questioning. I know I've been questioning, I've seen other people questioning, what is the thought, process behind the guards because he has some of the strongest guards in the league. And sometimes down the stretch, we see him going with the starters when we think, oh, well, Pow is performing well. And I think he gave insight. He said that he doesn't really have a process. He goes into the game thinking that he has a process, but Alicia Gray and Ryan Howard are so good, so they end up taking the bulk of the minutes. Outside of the questions that I asked, I listened to him talk about Tahina Pow, and what it sounds like for me, or how I interpret it, it it's not a matter of her offense is he doesn't fully trust her defensively. So that's why she's not in the game in those moments like we saw in that New York matchup down the stretch. She was on fire for the bulk of the game, but he did not play her in those closing moments because when he did play her, she got that foul on Natasha Howard. She has to work on her angling. The guards are a lot quicker in the W, making that transition, into the pros from college. So she's struggling there with her angles and being able to defend guards without fouling. And so she was in for a moment, but he says when he gives you those moments, you have to perform. So I think that is his concern with Tahina Pow. So for those who have been wondering, he did give an answer. I'm going to post more from that post and pregame press conference on this same channel. So look out for that. But that aside, it was a very exciting game. Atlanta led for the bulk of the game, but the Mystics fought back really hard towards the end. What did you see out of it?
Yeah, so with this game in particular, I agree. I think that the typical players on the Mystics that come in clutch in those third and fourth quarters are either a combination of my big three, which is Sykes, Sonia, or Kiki, right? Those are the three players that usually come in clutch in the third and fourth quarter. However, Shakira Austin, this was her breakout game.
Hmm.
This is the game that I have been waiting to see from Shakira. This is the game where Shakira, instead of thinking in that underdog mentality that you normally do, you took over and thought in a dog mentality, which has always been in you and has always been within your game. And I was sitting here at home watching this game with the biggest smile on my face, just seeing how much confidence she has in her game now. To see what she did in Unrivaled, and especially with missing so many games last season due to injuries and games the previous season due to injuries, like just to see a healthy Shakira. And we've said this, a healthy Shakira Austin is a scary Shakira Austin because she's so good. But I love the fight that the Mystics have. I love that when they're down, they try to fight back as hard as they can and they make timely plays and timely shots. And I think the defense in the third and fourth quarters was very good. Um, I just I need to see us, or not us, I need to see the team defensively though all four quarters. Like there cannot be lapses on defense how there has been, because you don't always want a game where you have to fight back at the end to try to win. But I thought they had a very good effort. And I was covering the previous Sunday when Atlanta came down here to DC to play against the Mystics. And I have a couple of videos from the post-game press conference. I was able to ask Carl about the buy-in from the team and how that's been going. And he actually had some very positive words to say about Pow and how he just loves how she embraces what's thrown at her, and she embraces the advice and just the consideration that her vets are giving her. And you guys saw the video of Pow and Leash, and that video actually made it onto the ESPNW Instagram account. But that was my question about like what they've learned from each other. You can just see the bond that she's been developing with them. And in the post game press conference after New York, even her and Ryan, like those three have just developed such a bond. It's amazing to see, and I think that's what we're seeing translating on the court as well.
Defense is definitely something that the Mystics want to focus on, but it's also bench production. Atlanta outscored by halftime. Atlanta's bench had outscored the Mystics bench 21-3. I think that the
Yeah.
bench kind of slowed down towards the end of the game, and that could have been a factor of coach sticking with the starters at that moment. But yeah, the bench production is going to have to improve for the Mystics down the stretch if they want to continue to compete at a high level. And you talked about the Mystics closing games. The Atlanta Dream also has been struggling to close games. They lost one in New York with a matter of, not closing the game, how they started the game. And then with the Mystics, they didn't close the game how they started the game, but they were still able to get the win. And when I asked Coach about trends, he said he hasn't really seen trends in the outcomes of the game. There hasn't been the same occurrence twice. So he's still attributing the closing of games to, teams just being better. And he said that the Mystics had one of their worst games when they came to Washington
Yeah.
to, when Atlanta came to Washington, Mystics probably struggled more than they will the rest of the season. And then, he knew that they weren't going to get that same Mystics team twice. So I think what we saw in Atlanta was just them shaking back. And I also think it's interesting that it seems to be a trend with the Mystics that Shakira Austin and Kiki Iriafen don't have big games at the same time. It's like one of them has a breakout game and then the other one is kind of they might stay around single digits. So I think once they find the balance of their scoring, I think that that will also improve the Mystics play. I think that Kiki just has to continue to expand her range. I think her shot and her form is there, is pure, it looks great. And once she gets more reps and she takes more outside shots, that's going to open up things for her. I think that Shakira is more of a in the paint type of player. She's going to get her buckets driving to the lane. Nobody can really stop her with her build. She's strong. She really put a working on BG and Brianna Jones, all of the offensive rebounds. Yeah, so I think that they're a pretty strong team. If you want to find out more or read more about this game and look at some photos from this game, make sure you go to www.womensbasketball365.com. Now, moving on to Natalie Nakase, I thought that it was really big that she said that our crowd is our superpower. She said that in the post-game press conference after the win over Indiana. And I think that the crowd really does play a factor into how players perform, whether it be the home crowd hyping up their home team to that same crowd discouraging the opponents. Now, I'm saying this because I asked Nia Coffey and Brianna Jones about this quote from Nakase and how they felt about Atlanta's home audience and if they had any words of motivation for them. I'm gonna post that video soon, but my words of motivation for them is we gotta get more hype. Like we got loud in that fourth quarter and we impacted. I feel like the crowd impacted Brittany Sykes' free throws. She went 2 for 3 when she could have sent that game in overtime had she made all three. I need us with that energy in Gateway Arena all 4 quarters. That means, Atlanta, you got to get there on time. Okay, because a lot of us we like to stay around the concession stand and we're not in our seats at tip off. We gotta get we gotta get more punctual with this thing. We gotta be into the game the whole time. I want us because we have such a unique experience here in Atlanta with it being such an intimate arena, and it feels like street ball. Like you're on the court and you can like reach out and touch the crowd. Since we're that close to the players, we gotta get louder. I want us louder in that arena. So that's what I have to say on that. And also with the Valkyries, Caitlin Chen is back. And that is huge. And I think that's a part of the Valkyries' success is how intentional they have been. And that's why they have the crowd that they have. They were very intentional. They mean business. They went out and got a amazing GM. This GM worked with the New York Liberty and has a big and was a big part of recruiting Brianna Stewart and Courtney Vandersloot and Jonquel Jones in 2023. So with that type of experience, bringing her in, that let the people know. And then San Francisco, Golden State, they're a basketball country. They have the Golden State Warriors as a brother team, and they're able to ride that wave. I think that they were just waiting. They had sold out of what is it? The season
Ticket
ticket
deposit,
holders, the season ticket holders before
deposits. Yeah.
before they even knew who was on the roster. So that lets you see, that shows you the buy-in from the audience there. So that is a big part of their success. The crowd is a big part of the success, but it's been the intentional moves by the front office which I attribute to their success. And then hiring Natalie Nakase, just pro moves.
Yeah, and I mean, shout out to Pods from the Warriors, who literally is the biggest Valkyries super fan. That man has every single player on that roster's jersey, and he wears it. He wears a different jersey to every home game. So shout out to him from the Warriors, and Steve Kerr, the coach from the Warriors, for coming out to support the Valkyries too. And I agree. I think that they're what we can hear on TV. Like, I have never heard so much booing for an opponent's free throw than I did in the game against Indiana. Like, that was loud. So I can't even imagine what being in that arena feels like. Maybe it's comparable to how people feel when they're in Gamebridge or how people feel when they're in Barclays, with those giant crowds and them screaming at them. And I do agree that I think that the crowd can certainly get into anyone's head and affect anyone. And I like the big arenas, but I also like the small arenas too. I think the small arenas sometimes can sound just as loud as the big arenas, but I think Golden State's doing a wonderful job over there, and I can't wait to see how they expand upon this. And we did mention it in a couple episodes earlier that anyone that was waived from Golden State or a lot of these camps to look for them to come back during hardship time, and here we are.
Right. I also think the crowd impacted that game with the Indiana Fever. This probably was the first game where I don't know how it is in Barclays, but I know that Caitlin Clark has a lot of fans no matter where she goes. This was one of the first games that I've seen her travel where I didn't see a bunch of Fever jerseys. There were a
Yep.
couple of them scattered out, but they were definitely booing Caitlin Clark. She got the reverse treatment, and I don't think that I feel like the energy of the Fever was off. It wasn't what I typically see. I didn't even see as much yelling at the refs from her. It just seemed like this was this was a
Nope.
different environment. She said after the game that, she loved it, but I think that this was very different for her. And I think that definitely impacted because from the opening moments, Kayla Thornton knocking down that three, like in the first minute, the crowd erupted. The momentum was there. I think
Yep.
that Nakase's comments when she said we were being disruptive, we know she doesn't like physicality and we know she wants to get back to that left step back. And she said that in reference to Caitlin Clark. But I also think that Aaliyah Boston doesn't really like physicality. And I say that she is a post
She
player.
doesn't.
She's a post player. She bangs a lot, but she was up against Kayla Thornton and Monique Billings, and she got her numbers in that first half, but after they made adjustments, it wasn't the same. She didn't get the same looks, and I think that's because of the physicality of the Golden State team as a whole. As a whole, on all of the players, I think that they're a scrappy team that makes it difficult for everyone, for all of their matchups. And they were blitzing over the screens because Caitlin likes to use a lot of screens before she even goes into that step back motion. And Golden State has longer guards or longer wings. I saw Kayla Thornton being the one that was hedging over the screens a lot. And I've said this before. This is why I thought that Leonie Fibich being out for in that matchup against New York impacted her because yes, Caitlin might score on Leonie Fibich, but Leonie is a taller guard, and I think that she
Yep.
struggles when she's playing guards that are comparable to her height and especially when they're quicker. So she struggled with Tiffany Hayes because Tiffany Hayes is quick and she's also long. So I think that those things and just having an amazing scout on the Indiana team as a whole really impacted the game. And I also thought that Sophie Cunningham they didn't swing the ball to Cunningham how they typically would. She had a few open looks where I'm like, man, she's like jumping up and down wide open, and they didn't get her the ball. So I think that their ball movement was a little disjointed. I don't think the energy was the same for them. So they struggled, and it showed.
Yeah, I think a lot of the things that I noticed to your point on Sophie Cunningham, she missed a lot of open shots, as did Lexi Hull. Like they missed a lot of open shots that they did have, which I think is probably what prevented them from getting the ball back, per se. And yes, they had LA, Leticia Amir, guarding Caitlin. They had a rotation of Steph Talbot. They had Tiffany Hayes, Kayla Thornton, Veronica Burton at one point, like Chloe Bibby. I feel like all five that were out on the floor on different possessions rotated out and guarding Caitlin, and it made it very difficult. No one on that Indiana team likes physicality except for maybe Natasha Howard. That's it. The others struggle against anyone's physicality. That's why you always see like AB and BG going to blows because BG tries to get very physical with her. And Caitlyn has struggled with physicality her entire career, but I agree that their energy was completely off. The shots that they normally would have that normally would have went down were going down. And I do think that the crowd had an impact on that. This is, as you said, one of the first games where they didn't have a home court advantage away from home court, so to speak.
Shout out to Kate Martin. She is now 5-0 in her pro record against Caitlin Clark. And I just
Yes.
have to let it be known because I've seen a lot of things and these could be people kidding around, but I just want to let it I want to throw it out there that Kate Martin had this turnaround fade in college.
Yes.
I just like I know that she learned a lot from Asia Wilson. But one of the reasons why I like Kate Martin is when I saw that turnaround fade, I was like, "Oh, that's Kobe." Like I was like, "Oh, she's one of them." And she might not even have got it from Kobe. But what I saw, that fade away, it was off the baseline. It wasn't as much as in the paint, and it wasn't in the same areas that I've seen her expand it to now. So she could have very much so got that from Asia. But I just want to say that Kate Martin was doing that fade away before she was at the Aces. And if
Can,
for those that also didn't know, tidbit before I pass it back to you. Chloe Bibby is the niece of Mike Bibby. So if you're an OG and you hear that Bibby name and you're like, oh, Bibby, yes, she is the niece of Mike Bibby.
I wanna hype Kate Martin up a little bit because you guys have known I have been no I have not been shy about how much I support and how much I love Kate Martin's game. And I will never be shy about that because she was my favorite on that Iowa squad. While y'all were all enamored with Caitlin, I was enamored with Kate and what she was doing. And, I posted about this earlier. You guys don't know how deep Kate Martin's bag is. I mean, this season alone, she's already pulled out a floater. She's already pulled out her fadeaway, her midi fadeaway, right? She's been hitting other shots from her midi. She's showing her range on with her three ball, and she's finishing at the rim better. And her drives are more explosive than they normally are. And anyone that's followed her knows she put the work in the off season to perfect these moves that she's been good at. But Kate Martin has always been this good. Kate Martin has been more than just a 3 and D player. And I just want to point that out because y'all need to start paying attention to her game a little bit more.
For context, the Valkyries were missing a few of their key players, Janelle Salon, Timmy Fakbenle, and Cecilia Zandalicini. So that was really huge, but they haven't really missed a beat. They took that loss to Dallas very personally, and I heard Kayla Thornton say that they underestimated Dallas going into the game, and they made those adjustments. They didn't want to lose their edge, and they came out with a big win over Indiana. And I will expect them to have a few more big wins throughout this season. Now, we bring up the Valkyries, so I have to talk about the most improved debate because recently Veronica Burton has been thrown into this debate. So, who are your top candidates for most improved?
Ooh. Gabby Williams, Brittany Sykes, and Veronica Burton. Actually, I go between Veronica Burton and Kennedy Burke. Uh, that's the third one's always a little hard for me. What about you?
Really, my top has been Azurá Stevens, and it's been really hard for me to steer away from Azurá Stevens because I go back and forth in my mind about have the players gotten better or has the system changed and now we're seeing what they've always been able to do? Like, how can it's really hard to gauge that type of thing because I hear uh Ka talk about how she really likes the Phoenix system. And then you think about Satu, who's having a breakout year, and her numbers are better than they've been her entire career. But now she's in a system that favors her skill set. Alicia Gray, when I asked coach, can you speak to Alicia Gray's work ethic? What do you her field goal percentage is up 10%. Every shooting statistic is up for Alicia Gray. Her three-point shooting is up 8%. So her free throw percentage up. And I'm like, what is it about her work ethic that's changing that? And he's like, I think that she's not having to create as many shots. So he's speaking to his system. So it's like, how do we gauge if this player is most improved? Veronica Burton is a great candidate, and honestly, I think that she has the probably largest odds to win it because of how well the Valkyries are doing. And she's in a completely new role with being this starting guard after being this supporting role for so long. So it's really hard for me to talk about the most improved because people want to throw Alicia Gray in there, but I'm like, Alicia Gray for MVP. I don't think that,
Right,
I think
right.
I'm with coach. Like, I don't know if it's a matter of her, working harder. I'm sure she's always working hard, but I just think it's a matter of the skill set being put to a system that works for it.
Yeah, and I think that's why I bring up both Gabby Williams and Brittany Sykes because although Gabby was in Noel's system, what she's doing this season is a little bit different than what she was doing last season. I think she's getting a lot more open looks. She's getting a lot more plays drawn up for her. And her scoring has increased, her steals have increased, her rebounding has increased. And same with Brittany Sykes. She was not necessarily the number one go-to option when she was in Tebow's system. There were other players that were the number one option in Tebow's system, whereas in Sydney's system, she is the number one option, and Sonia's number two, et cetera, et cetera. So I think I lean more towards Veronica or Gabby, just because yes, Veronica's in a new system, new role. Gabby's in a similar system, definitely a different role than she was in before, and she's improved quite a bit in that.
Yeah, with that said, I'm sticking with Azure. Before we move into All Star and wrap up things, I'm just gonna go back to a couple of the Hoops Tribe questions just to knock some things out. Someone says, so you saw the dream. Should the Dream be considering any trades before the deadline to help down the stretch and possibly in the playoffs? My thoughts are no. The Dream's roster is set. I don't think they need to add anything or change anything. I think right now is about fine tuning. And I'm going to let you go into this next question is why are certain teams only playing each other very limited this season, whereas other matches are being played over and over? Uh, do you have an answer for that?
Yeah, it's just conference play, guys. So, when you are in the like Eastern Conference to Eastern Conference, Western Conference to Western Conference, i.e. Seattle versus Aces, i.e. Atlanta versus Mystics. When you're playing your conference opponent, you're gonna play them 4 or 5 times, which is why we have Indiana and Chicago playing 5 times. It's just a part of how they schedule versus the Western Conference versus Eastern Conference matchups, such as like Phoenix and New York. You'll maybe see them play twice. Um, excuse me, you'll see them play twice or 3 times, occasionally 4 times. It's just how the scheduling works for the matchups. There's nothing weird going on there. It's just how it works out, and especially with us adding more games this season, it's a little bit you'll see more teams playing a little bit more.
All right, so quick thoughts on the first returns for All-Star voting. I'm just going to go through the first 10 so everyone's aware. Number one, Caitlin Clark. Number two, Nafisa Collier. Number three, Aaliyah Boston. Number four, Asia Wilson. Number five, Brianna Stewart. Number six, Paige Beckers. Number seven, Kelsey Mitchell. Number eight, Sabrina Ionescu. Number nine, Lexi Hull. Number 10, Kiki Iriafen. What are your thoughts?
Excuse me. The only surprising name in that top 10 is Lexi Hull. And yes, I understand that she has been leading in 3-point percentage in the league, but I do not believe she's leading in 3-point attempts or 3-point makes. But hey, it is what it is. Indiana has a strong fan base. They're gonna be voting as much as their starting five in as they can. But I'm really not surprised about anyone else on the list. I actually did expect it to either be Paige or Kiki for the rookies, or Paige and Sonia for the rookies. But it tracks. Like everyone on that list pretty much tracks. And I think it's very similar to last year's voting as well in those first returns. Also, Angel Reese not being in that top 10, people aren't voting because they don't want her to go to All Star and want her to be in that environment. That's why her votes are lower this year compared to last year. I mean, we can we can sit here and we can debate on like who the top 10 should be and who should be starting and where it should be, but all that's going to be subjective, right? From either player popularity, more so than player skill, right? The more popular players are always going to be voted in, which is why when it comes to media voting, player voting, and coaches voting, I think that's going to level out everything. But I'm not really surprised. All I'm going to say is I'm still pushing my agenda of Slim and the Rooks to All Star, and anyone who gets voted gets a bonus. So I'm pushing my agenda just for them to get that bonus.
Well, I'm surprised because where the hell is Kate Martin? Like, she's on I mean, I feel like, how did Kate Martin go from like one of the top jersey sales to what? She's 31 in All-Star voting. Like, where the hell are her,
Yeah,
where the hell are the Martinis? Y'all are some fake ass people. Like, what? She only has 67,000 plus votes. Get to work, people. Why aren't Golden State Valkyrie players in the top 10? Y'all have the largest fan base for home games. There's no reason why your players should not be in the top 10. So unless y'all have a secret agenda or y'all not voting your players there because you don't want them to go to Gamebridge, I need answers. And
right.
Golden State fans to the chat because I'm disappointed in you. Everybody
Oh.
else, I mean, I'm pretty much knowing everything is everything. I'm interested to see how it goes. Honestly, if I'm being really, really honest, I don't know if Angel Reese is an all-star this season just
Hmm.
because of her first, like, we're only like maybe a quarter way through the season. I don't think that she's putting up all-star numbers or an all-star performance. So I'm really not surprised. I'm somewhat surprised that, she still has one of the largest fan bases in the W. So I'm surprised that she doesn't have more votes, but it could be,
So
that agenda, that they just don't want to send her to Indiana just because of what all has happened when she goes to Indiana. So that makes sense.
yeah, I mean, but you bring up that, she hasn't been having an all-star performance this season, but what about Satu? Satu's been having an all-star performance this season, and Satu's only 12th in voting.
Well, Satu pissed people off. First of all, she's
True.
probably
Yeah,
not
true.
that popular with people because she just says whatever the hell she wants to say. And then she also said that about Caitlyn Chin, who is like, a fan favorite. So yeah, Satu isn't the most popular person with people. So I'm really not surprised that she doesn't have a lot of votes.
All right, what about AT?
Are you really saying that Alyssa
No, I'm
Thomas is
just
popular
joking.
with people?
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Like what?
Absolutely joking. Absolutely joking. Absolutely joking. Alyssa Thomas Hive, don't come for me.
But as we wrap, just want to let you guys know about upcoming matchups to look out for. Liberty versus Storm is on June 22nd. That's today, people. Indiana versus Aces is today. New York Liberty versus Valkyries. I'm very interested in this matchup. June 25th. Fever versus Storm. I'm really excited about that one. That's actually June 24th, Aces versus Mystics June 26th, and New York Liberty versus Dream June 29th. My only closing remarks for this episode is go to www.womensbasketball365.com. There's a lot of things there waiting for you, and that I also have an upcoming podcast with Chicago reporter Carly Bell. So look out for that in the coming days.
Oh, congrats on that. My only closing remarks is I will be covering the Wings versus Mystics today as media again. So I will be posting photos and videos as I get a chance. And please bear with me. I work two jobs in addition to doing this.
Yes, yes, yes. Congrats on that. And we are very empathetic of people that work hard. We understand the work life balance, so we appreciate your time and for all the effort that you put in to coming on this show every single week for 9 episodes. We're getting ready for the 10th. Please know, just a reminder, if you want to ask a question moving forward, you must subscribe on one channel or the next. You can subscribe here on YouTube, you can subscribe on Instagram, you can subscribe on Facebook, but you must subscribe to ask questions moving on out. As always, folks, thank you, thank you, thank you, and let's talk hoops.